I'm glad this is being done under the auspices of Stanbic and other corporate heads are here. What is the purpose of education when we talk about building the skills of our students and we are not involved in business? The eventual recipients of the very products that we claim to mold and train. When I came to the Ministry of Education, we had a meeting with, I think, the corporations in the companies in the cocoa industry. And what happened there kind of changed and actually emboldened me to do more. These companies were there to hear us so that they would know how to support us. And one of the middle-level staff that we went there with, who did the whole, the organization of the event and did the presentation, made a comment. He said, we like the fact that you companies are coming here to help us. But when you come to the Ministry of Education, please do not tell us what to do. And I said, you stop right there. They should rather be telling us what to do. Because after you train all the students, they are the ones who are supposed to hire them. And you are telling them not to tell you what to do. So they will not also tell you whether they will hire your products or they are not hiring your products. Sometimes we talk about graduate unemployment and all the other things. And there are times, I'm also an entrepreneur, there are times when you interview people and you don't feel like hiring any one of them. So education has work to do. If we turn out the kind of graduates with the requisite skills who did not just memorize to get excellent grades, I'm sure we'll reduce graduate unemployment because the companies will be so enticed to hire more. So I'm glad that Stanbic is part of this program, and I hope more companies will come on board and help us dialogue as to the way forward in terms of education. And having said this, somebody may ask, what are the proper aims of education? Because invariably, we hear one thing and we have to do so many other things. Is it about preserving the harmony of civic life? Is it about providing opportunities for individuals to grow? Is it about improving artistic creativity? Is it about enhancing our scientific progress? Is it about empowering individuals to choose wisely? Is it about preparing citizens to enter the labor force? And the answer, of course, is all the above. We have to do all the above. And doing all the above means we have to create a robust education system that responds to the needs of our country in all these spheres. So it's not just about making sure that there's some civic education, but it's about doing more than that. And at the same time, making sure that the fullest potential of every child in this country is realized. About a week ago, exactly a week ago, the World Bank launched its Human Capital Index, and it was very insightful. To say the least, I was not impressed. We may quibble with maybe the way they came up with the data and other things, but at the end of the day, we saw that we have a long way to go. But the good news is that we have realized that there's a lot to be done. And that's why sometimes I say that in spite of our best efforts, we have not created an efficient system, or what we can really call a system of education. And sometimes quoted out of context, but I believe strongly that there's a lot that needs to be done. You see, sometimes we have this patchwork of arrangements, and we call it a system. When we change from the old middle school that helped some of us from the rural areas into this JHS program that was 9 years and it was across the board for everyone, those who came from homes and backgrounds that was used to going up to primary 6 and then going to high school probably did not see any huge change. But if you go to the rural areas, for somebody like me, how was I able to compete in senior high school? I went there, I was more mature. I could compete with those who went to the international schools because it took me 3 years more. And when I went in, I could compete with my maturity. The moment you said that everybody should have the same number of years, then you don't leave out the equity component that says if this area happens to be rural and poor, they need more government support and not less. Where we took our 633 model from, and if you look at the United States of America, where everybody goes to up to junior high school for the same number of years, communities that are poor get more government support. Then you look at our system. If you happen to go to Achimota, you get all the resources. And who are the ones who are able to go? But if you happen to go to my school, Jachepramso, you are the short end of the stick. You have limited facilities. You have the most inexperienced teachers teaching you. And these are communities that are educating the poor among the poor, the poorest among the poor. And these are the ones where there are no equity, no intervention, so that they can lift up those who are poor and help them break the cycle of poverty. So, as we look at the need for quality education, and I know there are a number of people who complain that because of the free senior high school, students with aggregate 30 are being sent to Presec and are being sent to Achimota, and people are angry. All students called, they are angry. Why should you send a student with aggregate 30 to my famous school? And I said to them, why not? If Presec happens to be, or any other school for that matter, the top 55 schools, they happen to have the best of resources. They have well-trained teachers, more experienced. They are better equipped to deal with students who are low-performing than the schools that are struggling. So when you talk about access, you talk about quality, you cannot forget about equity. And for the last 2 years, the Ministry of Education has done something unique under the direction of the minister, which required that all our Category A schools, about 55 of them, reserve 30% of their seats to children who went to public schools, who are more likely to be poor and disadvantaged. And a friend of mine who has a daughter at Wesley Girls Senior High School, they just came from a PTA meeting, and he said, this time around, there were so many parking spaces for parents to park their cars. And I said, why? He said, 30% of the parents were not driving. So you see, the place has been decongested for those of us who were driving their cars there. And he was so happy that he didn't have to struggle. But he's telling us something. The poor is now with us. The disadvantaged has found a way. We have given them an opportunity to be among those of us who are educated and elite. And the culture has changed. The diverse environment that has been created will inure to the benefits of our children, even more than the benefits of the children who are coming from these backgrounds. Free Senior High School and its cousin, Double Track, are here with us. Today, the first group of Gold Track students are reporting to school. I know there have been questions about why we ration. About a year ago, we had a meeting at the Ministry of Education, and South Korean Exim Bank executives and other senior higher education experts were there. And they had come to Ghana to give us a loan to build the Eastern campus of the Eastern University. And they met us in the Ministry of Education. The minister was not there, happened to chair the meeting. And they showed us some graphs as part of their presentation. And we're all ears because, hey, they are there to give us money. The first graph was about per capita income of South Korea and Ghana in 1960. And of course, we know the story of how our per capita income was higher. Then they showed us the per capita income now, South Korea, Ghana, way ahead of us. And they asked us, why do you guys think we've performed better than you? And of course, we were scratching our heads in shame. And they said, let's see the third graph. Third graph was the gross tertiary enrollment ratio of Ghana, South Korea compared. That is, if you look at the youth between the ages of 18 and 23, and you want to find out how many of them are in some kind of tertiary education. In Ghana, our average was 17%. Actually 16 point something, but I've rounded it up to 17%. And South Korea is 93.6. So they asked us, this is why we are ahead of you, and this is why we came here to give you a loan. And I vowed to myself when I left that meeting that yes, 60 years they've come to give us a loan, and I don't want them to come and give the loans to my grandchildren another 60 years from now. Yes, there are essential elements of the education system that we don't have, but we need to do a better job than what we have done. And of course, Ghana finds itself in a unique situation where we look at ourselves and we are the best kid on the block. Because when we talk about the gross tertiary enrollment of 17%, the African average is 7%. So we are more likely to look at ourselves and say we are better off than them. When I had a meeting where USAID's education director said Ghana would be the powerhouse for education in Africa, and when it was my turn to speak, I said, no, we are not going to be the powerhouse for education in Africa. We have to be the powerhouse of education for education in the world, not Africa. When you box yourself into the African syndrome, you are not going to move up. And I want us, together with our partners in business, find a way to get ourselves out of this. And of course, doing all this means you have to reform your education system. When you look at assessment, for example, the first time we get any data on student assessment in Ghana, formal one will be after 11 years of education, which is BEC. And others are just pilot assessment, the NEA and the EGRA and the EGMA. So after 11 years, what do you do with that data? It's too late for you to do serious intervention for the students. So at the Ministry of Education, as part of our curricular reforms, we are also looking at establishing a national assessment. So the students in primary 2, nation 1 will be assessed in English and mathematics, primary 4, primary 6, so that you have a time to really look at what is going on at Chebidi Primary School and be able to know whether the school is doing well or not and what we can do to turn it around. So we have then to begin to look at intervention, and we run away from this chew poor, pass and forget syndrome, which I call it chew poor, fail and forget, because the vast majority of students don't pass on the WASI. When they memorize, they don't. So we have to move away from it and have students seated in classroom just like we're seated here, and have them dialogue with their peers and begin to look at a 21st century way of educating our children with peer collaboration, critical thinking taking place in the classroom, because students can voice their opinions. I've done some unannounced visits to schools. I go into the classroom, I talk to students, and they're excited even to hear about my background and what I've done in America, and since the case, every one of them wants to go to America anyway. So they get excited when they know that, oh, you build schools in America, wow. Everything I say, they will punctuate it with wow. And after I finish, I ask them, any questions? No hand is up. No hand. And that is when I see that there's something wrong. So as we look at sustainable ways of funding education, I also will venture to say that the best way of funding education is to fund it on things that are critical, on things that can really improve the learning culture in the schools after you guarantee access, and make sure that the very people that you are educating are the ones who are going to help improve the economy in such a way that you not then begin to worry too much about funding for education, because the innovative ways of doing things and the creativity they bring to the fore to improve productivity in industry is what will improve our economy. And when the economy improves, 4% is a lot of money. 4% of the GDP becomes a lot of money. When the economy improves, 5% of GDP becomes a lot of money. And then you're able to really look at how do you develop your education system? How do you sustain it? So I just want to say this. Our politicians are paid to talk, so sometimes I have to remind myself that I may be talking too much. And I just want to say that I'm very happy to be here this morning, and I hope the panelists, eminent educationists who are here will help us come up with various ideas as to how we fund free quality secondary education and free quality basic education and beyond. Because at this point, we don't have a choice. And the only choice we have is to make sure that our children are in school, and when they go to school, somebody has to pay for it. And I hope that through this dialogue, I will begin to look at ways where private sector involvement becomes important, voluntary contributions become important, our community participation become key in ensuring that this funding regime becomes sustainable, and the children of this nation, whether poor or rich, get the opportunity for quality education. Thank you for the opportunity this morning.